We're coming from James, the first chapter, starting at the 19th verse. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Right here in verses 19 and 20, we have instructions for conflict resolution. And many individuals have never learned or lack a skill set that includes conflict resolution. So here we find out that one of the tools in our tool bag for conflict resolution is being swift to hear. And oftentimes, when in the midst of conflict, and let me preface what I'm about to say. Conflict is a part of life. It's a normal part of life. Anytime you have two human beings, two individuals with differing backgrounds, differing experiences in life, differing culture, it is a breeding ground for conflict. Different thought process, different mindset, different ways of seeing things in general is a breeding ground for conflict. But conflict on the flip side, or the upside to conflict, is that through conflict, it can foster greater understanding and empathy one for another when we allow ourselves to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and to see things through the lens of another person's life. So we're admonished in verse 19 to be swift to hear. And could I say this, that hearing is essential in conflict resolution. Hearing is essential, but unfortunately, many are not listening to hear. Many are listening to respond. Can I say that again? Many are not listening to hear, but they're listening to respond, to have a response, to have a quip, to have a snappy comeback, and are not truly listening to hear the heart of the other individual. So James admonishes us to be swift to hear. Be quick, willing, open to hear. But as it is with conflict, many times our emotions are getting the best of us, and we're not in an emotional space, nor a cognitive space to hear. So it's beneficial for us, even in the midst of conflict, to keep our emotions in check. It's beneficial for us to keep our emotions in check during conflict, because when our emotions get the best of us and our emotions are in control, they're no longer a gauge. They become our guide. But how many know that our emotions are not meant to be our guide? They're meant to be a gauge. They're meant to be a thermometer, not a thermostat. The thermometer reads the temperature, but the thermostat sets the temperature. And our emotions are never meant to have the rule over us, that it sets the temperature and it guides us in life. It's simply a gauge. It's simply a temperature reader. And our emotions are designed to allow us to know that we are in contact with this physical world. So moving on to the second admonition of James, he said, be swift to hear, slow to speak. Many times when we are in the heat of conflict, we speak too quickly without measuring our words, without tasting our words before we spit them out. Many times when we speak to hurt, not to heal. Can I say that again? Many times when we speak in the heat of conflict, we're speaking to hurt. We're speaking to even the score, tit for tat, to one up one another, to throw the kitchen sink and to divert away from what is the actual issue. But what we must do is we must find ourselves being slow to speak. Let our words be seasoned with grace, that the hearers may be edified. And if we're swift to hear, it should cause our words that we speak to change. It should cause the purpose of our words to change. We shouldn't be speaking to hurt, and we shouldn't be speaking to even the score and settle the even the odds and settle the score. But we should be speaking to come to a place of mutual understanding. We should be speaking to come to a place of mutual healing, and we should be speaking in a manner that brings about that should bring about mutual satisfaction. Let me put it that way. I found out that many times we can be right about what it is that we're saying. But if in our rightness, it doesn't serve to bring us to a mutual understanding and bring resolution, we're still wrong. You can be right, but in your rightness, you can actually drive a wedge when the motive and the intent of being right isn't right. So what am I saying? You can be right and still be wrong. Let that one soak in for a minute. And then also slow to wrath. That's the last key. James gives us a 3 key prescription for conflict resolution. He said, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Why? Because when we allow ourselves to be enraged or find ourselves in the throes of wrath, and we allow ourselves to become or find ourselves getting angry to the point of being full of wrath. How many know that wrath is nigh to murder? Let me say that again. Wrath is nigh to murder. And when we allow ourselves to be overtaken by wrath, we're not in our right mind, and we're subject to do the unthinkable. We're subject to do things that we've never done before, that we didn't think we were capable of doing. But when we become subject to the spirit of wrath, the spirit of hatred, the spirit of anger, we are subject to do things that are outside the realm of normalcy for us. And so we have to find ourselves being careful with allowing life situations and disagreements and conflict to bring us to a place of being full of wrath. Why? Because we may feel that we have a right. but you really only have a reason to be angry. But you truly never have a right to be angry with your brother or with your sister. Yes, they may have wronged you, but when you put it in perspective of how it is that we have done wrong against God, and He's been merciful and gracious and kind and forgiving, He's been ready to pardon our wrong. It really should bring things into perspective when we feel that we have a right. Why? Because we find ourselves moving into the place of playing God. Only God is good. Only God is without sin. Only God is without blame. Only God is without shortcoming. All of us have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And if it is that God has forgiven us in our shortcoming and our wrongdoing, in our sin, how is it that we find ourselves not being able to forgive and love our fellow human being and brother and sister? And in that, we find ourselves trying to play God. So this is your empower moment for Thursday evening. Just a quick conflict resolution suggestion out of James, who lets us know how to deal with conflict resolution and how to master our emotions and master our spirits. So be blessed, be empowered. Good night.